Hey, what's up, Angels fans, and welcome back to Angels Latest, the show where we talk Halos baseball the same way we do with our buddies. We're a little hopeful, a little frustrated, but always locked in and always believing there's brighter days ahead at the Big A. I'm Anthony, and we've got another packed episode today as we are diving back into the biggest storyline of the offseason so far, the Angels trading Taylor Ward to the Baltimore Orioles for right-handed pitcher Grayson Rodriguez. Now, in our last episode, we talked about the initial reaction, the shock, the excitement, the roster fit, but now it's time to take a look at everything after the dust has settled and see what we've learned as more about this trade comes in from official reports, quotes, and new details. So today we're taking a deeper look at the move. So let's break it down. On the surface, it looks like a simple bat for arm swap. But according to several reports, there's much more behind it. Ward's contract was a huge factor, as Ward is projected to make $13.7 million this upcoming season. And by moving him, the Angels now clear that full amount off the books. It is wiped. The team's payroll now sits around $158.7 million. This is giving them actual spending power for the rest of the offseason. This wasn't just a baseball move, it was also a budget reshaping move. So, who exactly did the Angels trade for? Well, we said, let's talk Grayson Rodriguez. And we'll list the facts that help paint a better picture. He was the number 11 overall pick in the 2018 draft. And this wasn't a random prospect. This was a blue chip arm from day one. Second, he was ranked a top 10 prospect in all of baseball. So we're talking elite pedigree, not just a mid-tier throw-in. Third, his scouting grades are phenomenal. Fastball, slider, changeup, all graded as above average. This is the kind of talent that scouts drool over and fans love to see. Fourth, he's under team control for 4 more years. This is huge for the Angels. Instead of paying $20 to $25 million per year for a free agent starter, they get a potential frontline arm on the cheap. And also, let's take a look at the roster angle as it cleans things up. Here's something not enough people are talking about. Trading Ward actually solved a logjam. Before the trade, the Angels had 4 players best suited for the corner outfield, and someone had to go. There weren't enough spots for everyone. For this trade, it opens up everyday reps for, players like Adele, puts Trout permanently in a corner where he stays healthier, balances the playing time for other players to step in, forces the Angels to add a true center fielder, which they needed anyway. This isn't chaos, it's a cleanup. Think of it as spring training in the winter. So what is the budget impact as it's a new path for free agency? Well, with Ward's $13.7 million off the books, first off, the Angels suddenly have financial breathing room. They can now realistically pursue a starting pitcher and a center fielder. And the path is to a bigger pitching splash stays alive. They can engage in mid-tier deals without even feeling capped. Freeing Ward's contract puts the Angels in a position to make moves they probably wouldn't have been able to make otherwise. This trade just isn't adding pitching, it adds opportunity. So the real question is it a gamble or a steal? And the truth? It's actually both. Here's the steal part. 4 years of control, former elite prospect, high-end pitch mix, frontline potential, and now here's the gamble part. Injury history, no mound time since July, unclear timeline. But here's the key. The Angels have been passive for years. This is the kind of swing they needed to take. And if Rodriguez is a success and hits it out of the park, well, this goes down as one of the smartest trades the front office has made. All right, Angels fans, that wraps up our deeper look at the Taylor Ward for Grayson Rodriguez trade. I know it's a big move. It's a risky move, but it's a bold move. And honestly, it finally feels like the Angels are starting to build with the real plan in mind. All right, now let's switch gears because with all that payroll space opened up and the roster reshaped, the Angels suddenly have room to make a very interesting addition on the position player side. And this next guy, this would be one of those off-season gifts you dream about as an Angels fan, the kind of present you hope shows up under the tree, wrapped in a red, white, and navy blue bow. Yeah, got that Angel colors, right? A player who instantly makes your lineup better. A player who brings something this offense has been missing for years. And I'm talking about Luis Arraez, one of the best pure contact hitters in baseball. He is a two-time batting champion, elite on-base machine, a left-handed energizer at the top of the order. So let's break it down exactly why Arraez would be a perfect Christmas gift for the Halos and what he'd bring to this roster the moment he puts on that Angels uniform. So who is Luis Arraez? Well, Luis Arraez, known as La Rejadera, meaning the sprinkler in Spanish, because the man sprays hits everywhere. He was born in Venezuela and signed by the Twins, debuted in 2019, and immediately made it clear that he was built different. While the rest of the baseball fans is obsessed with the launch angle and exit velocity, Arraez brings back old school artistry, contact, discipline, consistency. He doesn't chase, he doesn't swing and miss, he doesn't strike out. The guy just hits. So let's talk about some awards, achievements, and why he's special. In 2022, he was the American League batting champion with a .316 batting average. 2023 National League batting champion with a .354 average. That was ridiculous. First player in modern MLB history to win batting titles in both leagues in back-to-back seasons. Multiple All-Star appearances, a career .326 hitter, career strikeout rate under 8%, which is unheard of in today's game. His batting average is basically what other players dream their on-base percentage would be. What he brings to Anaheim, well, what the Angels need, a real leadoff hitter. Someone who really sets the table, someone who can get on base in front of Trout, O'Hoppe, those guys. Left-handed balance, a player who makes pitchers work. He's a guy who frustrates opposing teams every single night. And Arraez gives you all of that. He instantly becomes the best contact hitter on the team, the best table setter since, has anybody remembered Sean Figgins? Yeah. The batting average leader from the moment, and plus, when he puts on the uniform, and the best part, he fits the roster like a glove. After the Ward trade, the Angels created budget space and lineup space, and Arraez fits in a real need. His projected contract, very affordable compared to the superstars on the market like Alex Bregman, Juan Soto, who was, in the past, Cody Bellinger, Pete Alonso, as Luis Arraez is in a completely different price range. Here's a projected deal, 5 years, $75 to $85 million. That's $15 to $17 million per year for a two-time batting champion? Wow, that is a bargain. And this is exactly the type of contract Artie Moreno historically does not hesitate to put the seal of approval on. He's a well-known name, high batting average, low risk profile, popular with the fans, definitely marketable at a reasonable price tag. This is in the Angels' wheelhouse. So, of course, when we look at the pros, we always look at the cons, the concerns, and let's be honest and fair. Defense at second base is average to below average. Doesn't really bring the power. You're getting singles and doubles, but not bombs. And Arraez might even profile as a first base DH later in the contract as he gets older in his years. But the value he brings, as a leadoff man outweigh all of that, and the Angels desperately need what he offers. So here's why he's the perfect Christmas gift, because for once, the Angels would be filling in a need with a player who gets on base, rarely strikes out, plays every day, still in his 20s, and adds lefty balance, helps the team immediately, and doesn't break the budget. And it's realistic. So Luis Arraez isn't just a want, he's a fit. He's a perfect fit at the top of this lineup. And with the Angels clearing salary from the Ward trade, the timing is kind of perfect. Angels fans, all right, we talked about how the Halos might add a leadoff bat with Luis Arraez and reshape the roster via the trade and budget moves. Well, now it's time to shift gears off the field, but no less important, because there's really a serious story unfolding in Orange County, one that touches our franchise and the legacy of a player who meant so much to the Halos. Today we're taking a hard look at the civil trial being heard in Santa Ana, California. It's the case filed by the family of former Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs. He tragically died in 2019 at the age of 27, and they've sued the Los Angeles Angels for $118 million, alleging the organization placed Skaggs in harm's way. The most recent testimony is serious and revealing, so let's walk through what we know. So former Angel teammate Mike Morin testified. Then he took the stand and described how he, Skaggs, and former Angels communications employee Eric Kay shared illicit pain pill use in 2017. And according to Morin, only the three of them knew what was going on. He testified that the pills came from Kay and that the distribution was extremely discreet. Morin also admitted to his own shame, saying he felt naive and thought the pills were legit. This brings up to the point that a team employee involvement was there. The trial alleges Kay, while still employed by the Angels, provided fentanyl-laced oxycodone pills to Skaggs and others. Families argue that the team knew or should have known. And this brings out star, teammate testimony from Mike Trout as well. Trout, a 3-time AL MVP and longtime friend of Skaggs, testified that Kay's behavior raised red flags when he was wired. He was sweating, doing stunts for money. Yet Trout said he never saw Skaggs take pills beyond marijuana and alcohol. So what does this mean for the Angels? Well, first of all, it means that the clubhouse culture and reputation risks. This trial rings loudly for the Angels organization. Regardless of the verdict, the public scrutiny is heavy. Fans, media, and players are watching, and the narrative matters. 2, the legal and financial stakes. The $118 million claim is a serious number. If the family prevails, the financial impact could ripple through the franchise. The Angels must balance legal defense with maintaining morale and public image. Thirdly, the operational adjustment and trust. Whether or not the Angels were aware, this trial has triggered changes in MLB's opioid testing policy and clubhouse oversight. It emphasizes how fragile the link between player health, organizational duty, and team reputation can be. And here's why Angels fans should be paying attention. It's not just baseball games. It's about the people behind the jerseys. It reminds us that high-performance culture often carries hidden pressures. For the Angels front office, this is a moment of truth about how they respond and how it matters just as much as what moves they make for free agency or in trades. Because for fans, remembering Skaggs isn't about policy or lawsuits. It's about a player we really cared for and loved. The way the organization handles this speaks to the franchise's character. All right, Angels fans, so that's our update on the Skaggs trial. It's serious, emotional, important, and it shows that this franchise has more than just wins and losses to manage. And we'll be keeping track of how this plays out because the legacy of our club matters just as much as what happens on the field. Now, though, let's lighten things up and shift gears. We're going to step out of the trade rumors and the lawsuits, the free agent madness, and have a little fun with a story that takes us back to one of the great Halos moments. We're talking closing time. We're talking high heat. We're talking fireballer, legend, one of our own. Here we go. For a long time, Halos fans, the name Troy Percival brings back memories of 100 mile per hour fastballs, high stakes closings, World Series glory, and that electric moment when the Halos finally won it all in 2002. And well, guess what? Percival isn't done with baseball. He's still in the game, still shaping young arms, still chasing wins, and his new mission has a surprising Angels angle. So, you want to know what he's doing now? Well, according to recent reporting, Percival has taken a managerial job in the Independent Pioneer League in the Long Beach area. After years of coaching and guiding younger pitchers, he's now leading a team himself. He says he's into it to win. And so, why does this matter to Angels fans? Well, he closed out Game 7 of the 2002 World Series for our Halos, a moment etched in franchise history. He represents continuity, legacy, and how one Angels player transitions into shaping the next generation. For this organization, which is rebuilding, redefining itself, and adding pitching and adding character, Percival's story is a reminder of identity. The Angels who win, who compete, who throw gas and close it out. I mean, when you talk to Percival, he gives you quotes like, "You get guys who love baseball. You're going to get a bunch of kids who are hungry," which is right up my alley. He also reflected on his closer days and says that at this point in his life, he wants to go out on top and win. And it's not just nostalgic, it's relevant. So, what the Angels should be taking from this? Well, they should be building a culture that, builds and matters. And Percival embodies that kind of culture the Halos want, a competitive, hungry, and edge-filled club. Leadership doesn't end when a player retires. What they teach, how they mentor, the values they carry forward, that all impacts the future. And if the Angels are going to rebuild through pitching and defense, while bringing voices in like Percy's, directly or indirectly, is a huge plus. All right, Angels fans, that wraps up our look at Troy Percival. Percy time, one of the toughest, meanest, most competitive closers to ever wear a Halos uniform. It's always great seeing guys like him still pouring into the game, still mentoring young arms, and still carrying that Angels fire wherever they go. And honestly, stories like this remind us what baseball is all about. Not just the big trades, not just the free agent drama, not just the lineup projections, but the people who shaped this team's identity and the stories that still connect us as fans. All right, Angels fans, that's going to do it for today's episode of Angels Latest. Thank you all so much for tuning in, supporting the show, and helping build this community. Every comment, every like, every share, it makes a huge difference, and I appreciate it, and every one of you is valued. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit like. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I always love reading them. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update as we keep track of trades, signings, the Skaggs trial, and everything happening around the Halos this offseason. And as always, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the Ward for Rodriguez trade after today's breakdown? Do you want the Angels to chase Luis Arraez? And how do you feel seeing Troy Percival still involved in the game? Let me know below, and we'll feature your takes on a future episode. All right, I'm Anthony, and this is Angels Latest. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. Take care and enjoy the rest of your days. And as always, go Halos!